Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on what part of the world you're watching from. This is the West Ham Network. This is your Hammers Headlines. These shows are in association with our good friends over at kumb.com, kneesupmotherbrand.com. Get across there, check them out. Great forum, great content as per usual. But we do bring some of the day's stories to you in the Hammers Headlines show. So let's get started on the first story. Now, we have all probably looked into the interview that Mark Noble gave Ben Foster recently. He's been talking out loud on the Evening Standard interview as well. And what Mark Noble said in the Ben Foster podcast was that he is looking for pathways to the first team. So obviously got a picture there of Ollie Scarles, and in the thumbnail you can see Levi Lang and you can see Divine Mubama. So what he said was he was talking about the sales in the academy and the reasoning behind the sales from the club back in January from the academy, where West Ham lost Ashby, Langello, Ekwa, Greenidge. But what will that do for West Ham moving forward? How will that make the pathway easier for players that are there? And what he said was it's boosting the chances of the current teenagers at the club to succeed in the future. And what he said was you need a 5-year plan with all the players that are coming through. He said we actually let a few of the boys go in January, the young boys. And he said, well, when I say young, I mean 21 and 22. And he's right. It's true, because you need to create a pathway for the 18s and the younger 21s in those teams, because the under 18s are 13 points clear in their league. They're in the quarterfinals of the FA Youth Cup. And we've got some real talented players. So they're our next crop. And I need to see them up close. I need to see them personally and try and get them into the first team. And that's what he's saying is he goes into the training sessions, he plays with them, and he trains with them, and he understands the little bits of what they're capable of doing on the park, the way they read the game, the way they can take a little touch that you don't see sometimes when you just watch it from out here. But you have to be right beside them to see the qualities that they've got. So I get it. I get fans get really annoyed when you see a player like Ashby with the talent that you hear about, but he is on the wrong side of the 20s. As much as it pains me to say it, I thought Alessi was the next crop of players coming through, but he's gone, but he was on the wrong side of 20. So you are looking at players who are capable of making the step up from a younger age. And really, that's the players you probably want to be looking at. That is the next crop of players, the 16, 17, and 18-year-olds. Because if you're not making it by the age of 2021, then really are you going to go make it? And so far, we've not been proven wrong when we do get rid of our players. And I'm not saying you wish that these players aren't quality that have gone. You wish them all the best for the future, but you don't want them to come back and bite you on the backside. It may do, but so far, not many have, if at all, any. And Martin went on and he said, you've got some real talented players, and they definitely are our next crop. But he did say that, you have to work on the current youth group of players, and we've got a lot of talented players there. Look at Divine Mubama. Look at the amount of goals he's scoring, fluctuating between the 18s and the 21s. He's getting a little bit of recognition in the first team. He's having a little bit of time on the park with the senior squad. The pathway is always going to be hard, especially when you've got players like Declan Rice and Ben Johnson, but in particular Declan Rice, because his standards are so high. His standards are extremely high, and that's raised the bar. But if you want a clear pathway, then you're giving the opportunity for players like Divine, Ollie Scarles, Callum Marshall, you name it, all the crop that's there, a real strong chance. You've got a good solid 2 years to make your transition, if you can, into that team. And they will. I do believe it. Now that you've had a borderline clear out of some of those players in that youth setup, they've got a clear potential pathway. But listen, let's not get mistaken here. There is only going to be 1 or 2 getting an opportunity. It's never going to be 4, 5, 6 players. That will frustrate West Ham fans, but that is the way it works in the youth setup. And that comes on a day that West Ham did announce the foundation for new trials for a player pathway program. Now, what this program is a program where trials are run on an opportunity for young footballers across East London and Essex to showcase their skills and receive an invite to join the Foundation's player pathway squads for the 23-24 season. If you watch the interview I did with Tony Carr, he was clear as mustard, and he said you have to find a pathway for these players up to the first team. And if you can't, only secondary, then they should go on to find football careers elsewhere. And the Foundation's player pathway consists of a 3-tier system. So I'm going to bring this up here for an image for you. And the idea is that they provide young people with specialized environment where they can develop as a player both on and off the pitch. The program aims to offer an environment which bridges the gap between grassroots and academy football. Huge. That's a huge thing, underestimated thing as well, because the difference is huge. No players promise that they're going to be a professional football or an academy player. We're simply here to provide an environment that might be different to the grassroots clubs, and their job is to help each player build a toolbox of skills and understanding that they can use for the rest of their career moving forward as a player. And the objective is to help all the players in the next step of their journey. That's what they need to do. Help them with the next step of the journey, whether that be an academy trial or progression with the pathway to becoming a professional footballer as well. So at the foundation, they understand that children develop at different rates, physicality and mentally. With that in mind, they look at the progress players through the tiered system, depending on what is right for the development at the time, and they cater for all that come through the door. Let's take a look at this here now. What they say is the Technical Development Centres. They're also known as TDCs, which you can see along the bottom there. This is the entry tier of the Foundations Players Pathway model. It engages over 250 boys and girls aged 5 to 16 on a weekly basis, and the emphasis is on developing the player's technical ability as well as their social circle. Then what you've got is the next level up, the Emerging Talent Centres. You've got ETCs, offer 8 to 16-year-olds an introduction to a squad environment with weekly sessions, showcase fixtures and individual development plans. Operating out of Woodlands School in Basildon and Beckton and Newham, players receive West Ham Foundation training kit and a full season commitment to be part of a foundation squads with a view of aiding the long-term development and progressing them along the pathway. See this stuff? This is fascinating for us to understand how it actually works. And you can see here there's 4 tiers for the female group as well. The Performance Academy, training twice a week. The specialised environment offers boys and girls aged 9 to 16 a chance to play their learned roles and responsibilities in weekly junior Premier League fixtures. This tier of pathway aims to provide an experience that will help bridge the gap between grassroots and academy football, offering players the chance to develop skills to both on and off the pitch. And as you can see, the final tier for female youth team, the final tier of the females player pathway looks to progress players into the women's first team via the under 21s. For me, this is vital for progression for the club. This is good that the club are bringing this information out to the fan base to understand what their future planning is, how they want to move these players forward. So, you know, it's trying to give a little bit of backstory behind why you are potentially getting rid of some of the players that are in the current crop. Because if you don't and they keep going on, you're not going to give the current crop that you're talking about, Divine Mabama, Ollie Scarles, Callum Marshalls of the world, opportunities, Levi Lang, opportunities in that team or in the chance to progress. You're 18, you're 17 or 18, you need to be playing in the 21s or in the first team setup. That's the pathway. So fingers crossed, we can start to see things moving forward for West Ham. And hopefully what I've just given you there has made a little bit of sense for you guys as well. But now there's another thing, another West Ham signing, Bartosz Andrzejczak. I'm terrible with pronunciation. He has taken up an analyst role at West Ham as he has quit Queen's Park Rangers. He's a Polish performance analyst, and he's confirmed he'll be joining West Ham. And he took to social media to announce it as well. He's 36-year-old, and he's a performance analyst as well as a UEFA coach, and was on the Queen's Park Rangers payroll for the last 10 years. And now he's moved into the Premier League with West Ham, and he said he's absolutely buzzing to be doing this job. He says, it looks like I'll be working at the Premier League. I've worked hard for it, having a talent for work and friends who, despite 10 years of immigration, still support you. You can do a lot. We sit in our seats, fasten our seatbelts and take off and ready for an adventure with West Ham. And he seems to be a jack of all trades, as he's got a scouting degree along with his coaching and analyst qualifications. And I love the analytics of a game as well. So it's going to be interesting to potentially hear a little bit more, especially the fact he's a little bit active on social media. And he's confirmed that he will be working with the first team. So there's a good chance he will be meeting and all the squad moving forward. And it remains to be seen what the plans are really essentially for him, whether or not he'll play any part in the recruitment process or if his analysis will solely be on the first team. Regardless, it seems to be a really good step in a direction. As sports science plays a massive key role in today's game. And if West Ham are trying to stay ahead of the curve, then we need to be making the moves that we're making in behind the scenes. And only time will tell if this position will help the team in the long run. However, for me, it's a good sign of moving forward with the times. there you go. That's the end of your Hammers headlines. Hope you've enjoyed it. Talk about the youth. The future's bright. The future is Claret and Blue. We have some talent there. It's about nurturing it and pushing the pathway through to the first team with a new signing also on our analysis team. Join us later on. There'll be more shows coming your way. Thanks for watching. And of course, take it easy. Come on, you Irons.